Hey guys, I hope you all are having a happy and healthy new year. As I was looking through my videos, I realized it's been quite a few months since I've given you guys a health fitness update. There's a lot that's out there, so I just wanted to bring a video and just from my perspective to just give you an update and to tell you guys how I kept the weight off. If you watch my previous video, you'll know that I got up to about 189 pounds towards the start of the pandemic. And I'm not gonna say the start of the pandemic, it's probably closer to 2021 is when I really started to drop the weight. So when the pandemic started, I think I got into exercising more regularly and running outside when I could. And then in 2021 I was able to kind of focus on my diet, and that was a struggle then and is a struggle now. But I kind of just wanted to talk about how my mindset really changed the trajectory of my weight loss journey. And this is not going to be one of those videos where it's like just manifest and it'll happen. Like, absolutely not. I think when it comes to weight and fitness and wellness, what people don't realize is that they make it seem like there's a start and end point, and that's just not how it is. It's more of a progression, and it's something that we as human beings are always going to deal with, whether it's your physical health, your mental health, your financial health. Like, you don't just hit a goal and it just stays stagnant and it's like, wow, I hit my goal and it stays there forever. Like, that's never the case when it comes to any of those goals. You'll usually hit that first goal and then there'll be more goals that you want to hit afterwards, or sometimes you'll hit the goal and there'll be setbacks and then you have to reset, etc. Like, that's just how life works realistically. But I will say that, like, the shift in my mindset on a few things definitely helped me. So I kind of just wanted to talk about, I only have like 3 main things, at least for this video, and I just kind of wanted to talk about how they help me keep the weight off. So the first thing is I deleted and removed all triggering social media. Now, what do you mean, Denisha? Elaborate. All right. So when I first was trying to figure out what to do to get healthy, the internet is, again, it's a great place. There's a wealth of knowledge, a lot of research that you can do on your own, and there's just a lot to learn about the health, wellness, fitness, etc. There's a lot, and I don't think anybody will ever become an expert, because there's always some new research, some new thing, some new trend, whatever, that's, you know, emerging. So it's continuous. There's always a lot that you can learn. So I started to follow a lot of Instagram accounts that talked about very specifically food, because I was trying to find healthy recipes, but I feel like I ended up in a feedback loop of following accounts that were like do's and don'ts. So it wasn't even like healthy food recipes, it was more so very specifically on Instagram, like do's and don'ts. Then it was a feedback loop, because as I liked more accounts, the Instagram started suggesting more accounts for me to follow, and I started following more of them. I followed a few fitness type models. After a while I stopped following them because it gets very easy to compare yourself. Now, as I did my own research and as I learned more about my body and my own eating habits, and also as I started reading the comments, because especially with those do and don't posts, they're very rigid point of views, and very specifically focus on, I can't even say they very specifically focus on nutrition, because sometimes they don't, which It's very odd. And a lot of those accounts that are like, do this, don't do that, a lot of those accounts also have conflicting views. Like there'll be some that's like, do eat a Big Mac, it's only like 600 calories. I'm using this as an example. But don't eat like 3 avocados a day, it's so fattening, blah blah. There's conflicting views in all of them, and they're very, very rigid. So at first I was following kind of the do's and don'ts, but for me it started to get very confusing because different accounts would tell you different things as you're learning, and I felt like some of the advice just wasn't helpful for me, and I felt like I was under eating and not giving myself the nutrition that it needed on certain days, because I was following these very rigid rules of saying, do eat this, don't eat this. And some said junk food was allowed, and some said that it wasn't. And then some said, you know, eat fruits and veggies, and others said, don't eat vegetables at all. Don't eat fruits at all. There's too much sugar, there's too many calories, there's too many, etc. And overall, I was still eating very healthy. Like I was eating fruits and vegetables at the time that I was following those accounts, because I felt like I was so consumed with these do's and don'ts, do's and don'ts, do's and don'ts, that when I did want to venture off and like have a cheat meal, a cheat day, I felt guilt and shame about it. Like that's how I felt. Like having all of those ideas and concepts just like ingrained in my head in my everyday. Like we all know, everybody like at least, you know, is somewhat addicted to social media. We all like check our phones, and if that's the only thing that your mind is consuming when you venture off and do something else, like I felt a lot of guilt and shame about just like eating normal food. Like if I wanted rice or pasta or a piece of bread for a sandwich, I felt so much guilt, and I didn't realize like where it was coming from. And I had to do a lot of my own self-reflecting to realize that all of these rigid ideas was coming from what I was consuming on social media. Or for worse, even if I don't lose any more weight, the progress that I've made, I've lost a ton of weight. Like I've lost a ton of weight. I'm super proud of myself. And even now, because I'm still not at my target weight or fitness, whatever yet, looking at those accounts, it makes me feel like crappy about myself, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, and it makes me feel just bad about myself. So I had to realize that like following those accounts and some of those accounts too have misinformation, because as I started to do my own research and again see what my body, how my body reacted to things, like it's a lot of misinformation that can very quickly have people spiraling into dangerous eating disorders and just bad habits in general. I needed to not look at those things. Like I needed to be good with myself. Like it triggered, I don't know if any of you watched the show Insecure, but you know how Issa has a mirror bitch who's just really negative all the time. Like just consuming those social media accounts, I think it triggered my own mirror bitch when I would eat food. And at one point, like food consumed my mind. What I was eating, what I was not eating, what my next meal is going to be. Like when I was super hungry, when I was eating healthy, I was super hungry all the time, and I like just food was in my mind, and like I was even stressing about not thinking about food. It was food all the time, and it is like a terrible way, and just a terrible way to live, and such a waste of energy. You have to have some positive affirmations and positive thoughts and realistic expectations about like your goals, but also about life in general. So social media, while sometimes it's well intended, sometimes social media, it just brings out the worst in people, and it is so triggering for a lot of people that like all those accounts that have these huge followings, etc., just delete them. While well intended, sometimes social media just can make things a lot worse for you. So long story short, I'm going on a rant right now. Just get rid of the social media accounts. You don't need it. You don't need that energy. The only thing that needs to be in your mind is how you feel about yourself. And if your, mirror bitch is just being mean to you, then it's time to do some self-reflecting and to tell your mirror bitch to chill out and to have a conversation with your mirror bitch about where those feelings kind of come from and reassess. And don't get me wrong, it may not have started with social media, but social media exacerbates exacerbates any mental health issues you may be having, because for better or for worse, it is a negative feedback loop. That's just, there's tons of research about it. It's a negative feedback loop. Delete the accounts. Time following accounts that make you happy, your interest or your hobbies. Like, just focus on things that's just not food and health and wellness related, which sounds kind of weird, but I think part of the fitness journey and weight loss journey, I think that people don't realize is that ultimately it's a small piece of a self-growth journey. That's kind of what it comes down to. It's a very, very small piece of a self-growth journey, and sometimes we don't acknowledge it, or we completely like miss the mark there. That's kind of what it's a journey. That's what it is. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on my social medias right now just following accounts where I can learn from them. So everybody knows I'm into like finance, so I look at a lot of finance accounts. Hair accounts, 50-50. I think when it comes to hair, black hair, and I can also talk about this in another video, sometimes can have a negative feedback loop too, I find on social media. But I do follow some hair accounts. I follow a lot of accounts that have DIY projects at home. A lot of them they have been giving me joy especially now that I'm locked in the house. It's going to sound strange, but I'm gonna say focus on increasing your fruits and veggies rather than going on a nutrition spiral. Now, again, if you watch my other video, when I first started losing weight, it wasn't because I was eating healthy. I was working out, but I was eating pretty poorly in terms of like actual nutrition, or I was eating small quantities of things when I was not working out. I just like significantly reduced my portion size, and the things that I was eating things that just were not healthy for me. It was stuff that my body was craving, not that it was fueling my body at all whatsoever. So for example, around the winter time, it just comes with my job, and especially now that I'm working from home, I've noticed that during the winter time when we're really busy, I don't eat at all, and then when I do eat, I want snack food. That's just kind of what happens. So I'll go on binges of things that are bad for me. So I remember one winter I was going on a binge of just eating any kind of buffalo dip that I can get my hands on. Shrimp buffalo dip, chicken buffalo dip, steak buffalo dip, anything buffalo dip with tortilla chips. And that was the only thing that I was eating. So I was losing weight, but honestly, that's just like snack food. I was feeling terrible. Like I had no energy, nothing. Like I was just focused on that. So when I tried to tell myself, okay, well, you need to eat healthy, I started to focus on nutrition, which is a good thing. However, I went on a nutrition spiral. Like, you can't eat X amount of grams of sugar, and you can't eat this, and no carbs ever, and no dairy ever, and no meat ever. Like, things at the end of the day that brought me pure joy in life, I just told myself no, 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 no. And then you know what happens when you tell yourself no, 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 no to everything? When you have it, because your body is has been craving it, you binge. At least I do. I can't speak for everybody else, I shouldn't say you. I binge. And I know other people probably experience the same thing. Like, if I can't have dairy, when I do have dairy, it's the every meal. There's tons of cheese. There's gonna be ton of heavy cream. There's gonna be ton of half and half. There's just going to be a ton of whatever I said no to. Same thing. Like, at one point I was trying not to eat meat, and then when I did consume a piece of meat, the only thing I wanted was meat, 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 meat. Same thing, I told myself no to carbs. When I had the carbs, I just had carbs, 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 carbs. Like, you can't be so restrictive of yourself, because when you get it, you're gonna do the exact opposite. At least I do the exact opposite, and I know a lot of people experience the same thing. So what I would suggest, and what has been helpful for me, is, and it's the same thing too with fruit, now that I think about it, because I was looking at a lot of those vlogs and they were like, yeah, I can't have fruit, there's too much sugar. Ah! You can't overindulge in anything, but you also can't restrict yourself from any and everything. So what I do is I try to focus on whatever I'm eating, whether it's healthy or not healthy, totally fine. I will eat that, but I'll also try to eat a fruit or a veggie with it. To be honest, this is probably one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle every single day, because when I eat a burger, do I really want to have a salad on the side, or do I really want to have it with lettuce and tomatoes? Do I really, you know, instead of having fries all the time, do I really want to have like some broccoli? Absolutely not. Like, do I crave those things? No. But does my body need those things? Yes. So I try to have a mixture of giving myself the things that I want, but also giving myself the things that I need. And then my last tip when it comes to this is understand your body. What do I mean by that? I think a lot of people notice red flags with their bodies, but they ignore them. Again, I think this comes back to my first point about the negative feedback loop. We assume that our bodies are going to respond to things the way that other people's bodies respond to things. But a lot of people have intolerances to dairy and different types of foods that they don't even know about. And because they're still consuming those things, it's going to mess with their weight loss. That's just the reality of the situation. A lot of people will eat certain foods that are healthy, and they will continue to eat those foods because somebody else lost a ton of weight and they're not losing weight, and then they're hard on themselves because they don't understand why they're not seeing results. A lot of people will drink a ton of protein powder. I was one of those people. I got into it, or started to get into it in college, and then I tried to get into my adult life. I always went back and forth trying these protein powders, people, and pre-workouts, and all these magical powders that's gonna somewhat like help you lose the weight. And was it helpful? Yes and no. So I would tell you myself, I started drinking them, I suffer from migraines. Let's start there. There's certain things that I eat that trigger the migraines. When I was younger, I ignored it. So a lot of it, I get migraines regardless. Light triggers it. I have a light sensitivity. Caffeine triggers it. I'm addicted to caffeine, so I've significantly reduced the amount of caffeine that I drink, but I drink 2 cups of coffee a day, every day. That is probably never gonna change. I can probably get it down to 1 and maybe a cup of tea, but caffeine was a trigger. At one point I was doing 4 cups of coffee a day. It was terrible. And then protein powder. I was not paying attention that after I had my protein powder, I would get migraines for the entire day. The worst migraines. I don't know what's in them, and I tried tons of different brands. The organic, they're vegan, whatever. The ones that had artificial stuff in it, I tried all kinds. Protein powder, something in it, and it may just be too much protein for my body to deal with, triggers the worst migraines. But I was ignoring, right, those signs because I was just like, oh well, like I need protein powder, this is what you need pre-workout to like lose weight. But the reality of the situation is that I was drinking those drinks and my headaches were so bad I could barely get out of bed to like work out, or I was like working with a throbbing headache all day that the last thing I wanted to do after work was work out because I was managing like dealing with these migraines, then also trying to take Tylenol or something to get rid of the migraines. Like, it was things where I saw the red flags, but I was ignoring it because, again, migraines, while I have them, for the most part, when they get that bad, something I consumed triggered them. When it comes to health, wellness, fitness, it is a personal growth journey. It is you. All the research in the world you can use as a guide. And again, this is not to slam the internet. There are a lot of well-intended, you know, researchers and blogs out there and social media accounts that are intended to be helpful. However, you have to use them as a tool, not as a Bible. In my video that you're watching right now, I can only recommend stuff to you that was helpful to me with the hopes that like maybe this will help you. Time, giving yourself grace, understanding how your body reacts to things. It's going to be to your benefit throughout this journey, more so than not, and to keep the weight off more so than not. I think it's not only the physical aspect of it, it's not how much you run. I said this in my other video and I would say it again, working out is helpful, but, and I feel bad for saying this because this is not going to work for everybody. This will not work for everybody. With my body, working out has been helpful and it will always be helpful. I work out because I enjoy working out more so for what it does for my mental health rather than my physical health when I do work out. But working out is not the reason why I really lost the weight. What really helped me is my food habits, and a lot of my food habits are very much so tied to how I am feeling and what I am thinking. So having mental clarity has definitely helped me in my relationship when it comes to food, and I think that's what it is for a lot of people. That is my opinion and that's my take on it, whether people realize that or not. That is, again, my opinion, full disclaimer. So I think for me sustaining the weight, keeping it off, it had all to do with like my mental state and having realistic expectations, and honestly getting rid of a lot of triggers in my life that mostly come from the internet. But for better or for worse, I'm hoping to at least put this out there to give more positive vibes on the internet when it comes to weight loss. It is not overnight. Everybody's body is different. Just be kind to yourself, be nice to yourself. Do not judge yourself based on other people. Also, do not judge yourself based on your past self, which sounds like odd, but it's true. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, when I was younger, I was able to do da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, when I was younger, I was like a teenager then and my body was still development. I wasn't a full woman, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'll judge myself based on my past self, and it's like, no, Denisha, I have realistic expectations about like what a body of a 30-year-old woman is going through and how your life is now compared to when you were a teenager in college. It's completely different. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent. With that being said, I hope this was helpful to you. I will also say, this is my shameless plug. I hate giving this plug, but I'm gonna give it now. Please like, subscribe if you're feeling the content. If you want to follow along my journey, you can subscribe on my social media accounts that I will put right here. Anyways, with that, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the day, enjoy the new year, and hopefully this is helpful to you. Peace out.